Here we are in Blender again, and we've got a tree, or the skeleton of a tree, which has been made out of a simple tree of edges and then modified with the skin modifier. So what we have here is a mesh. I'm going to select it and go into wireframe, and you can see here we've got a moderate amount of geometry, not a huge amount, but enough for a particle system of leaves to be applied to this. So let's begin to do that. And the first thing is that we need to make one leaf. Let's go into top view. I'm going to hit 7 on the keypad. And that didn't work. Okay. I'm going to go into top view by clicking on the Z dot here. And first of all, we'll hide the plane in the outliner and look down here and just add Shift A mesh plane. Move it over. We're in edit mode and we want to go into edge loop, add some edge loops, Control R, and I'm going to add, let's say, 3 edge loops here, and then one more here, and I want to make sure it's in the middle, more or less, by hitting 0 and then enter. And then finally I'll go out again to object mode, and I'll go to modifier subdivision surface, and we'll make it maybe 2 degrees of subdivision. Now let's go into edge select mode and select the top 2 edges, S, scale them in. We'll select the 2 next down, S, scale them in. The next 2 down, S, scale them in, S, and finally the bottom 2, S. So that's kind of sort of our leaf. Now we'll select the vertical divisions and look at it in an oblique view. GZ, pull down and go out again into object mode, smooth shade, and let's give it a leaf-like new material, and we'll use nodes. We'll make it kind of greenish, slightly darker green, and we'll bring the specularity up. And we can't see it here because we're in shaded mode, but if we go to look dev, there it is, there's our leaf. And we can define it a little more in a moment. Right, so now let's go to the front view. It's going to be -Y. And go into edit mode. It's important we're in edit mode because I'm going to add something as part of this object. Shift A, cylinder, and you notice that when we're in edit mode, Shift A only gives us meshes. It only allows us to add something which we're already edited. Cylinder, add cylinder, and where is it? I can't see it. There it is. We'll move it over, but before we do that, I'm going to change the number of verts to 12. Okay, because remember, as soon as we move this primitive, then it's not going to be editable anymore. All those options go away. RX90 and scale, Shift Y, scale around the Y axis, and G, let's look at it from side view, which is going to be X, and we'll hide the tree at this point. So we need to add modifier here, proportional editing, R. This isn't working either, it's affecting the leaf. So what do we need to do? Affect connected only. So now this will affect the stalk, but it won't affect the leaf. RX, Oh, I should have added some more geometry here. That's a little better. And now we can select the end again and hit RX. Something like that. Let's do that. Right. I didn't have X-ray enabled, so the nearer items were shading the last ones. We still have proportional editing enabled. I'm going to hit S, and I need to make it around the center. There we go. Median point. That's more like it. And we'll hit S. And with any luck, as we see the whole stalk, it'll start to taper towards the tip because of the proportional editing. Right, that's going to do it. Now I'm going to hit one of the verts and Control L so that I select all the linked items, and we'll go to our side view. Just rotate it and move it up, and then we'll select this and again rotate, maybe with the cursor not quite so close there. Something like that, and then Control L, G. Put it down like that. Alright, let's see what we've got now. Not too good from the top, so let's look at it from the top. Yeah, definitely not too good there. So we'll just select this, Control L, R, G, 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 so I'm kind of bending the leaf to fit the stalk. G, yeah, so something like this is probably going to be okay. And G, maybe R. There we go. Alright, let's go out into object mode and have a look at this. Yeah, not wonderful, but it'll have to do. So I'm going to extend the stalk slightly and change the color. So here we need a new material. That's going to be 1_twig. And it's going to be a brownish color. Something like that. I'm going to cut the specularity way down. And then go to Face Select with the 3 key. Control L. Select all the linked faces. And we're going to choose Twig and Assign. Alright, now let's look at this again. There seems to be something odd happening here. So I'm going to go to Vertex Select, GX. Yeah, that just got misplaced. Alright, so there's our leaf. Let's pull this end out slightly. Select it, E, and we'll just make it smooth shaded. Right, so that's the start of our leaf, and we can amend it as we see fit. Let's add it to the tree. We'll bring the tree back, and we'll select the tree and give it a particle system. Particle system is this kind of exploding dot here. What kind of particle system are we going to give it? Are we going to give it hair, or are we going to give it an emitter? And I think probably we'll give it hair. I'm not seeing it here, so this is slightly concerning. We ought to see the hairs coming out. So let's get rid of this and examine the tree one more time. What modifiers do we have? We got the skin modifier. So we need to apply the skin modifier first. Subdivision surface, I'm going to apply that as well. So now we just have the mesh. I should have seen that earlier. Let's go back here into particle systems, add hair. There we go, that looks better. Emitter, remember, will emit dust from the tree. Might be neat if it's wet and it's rustling in the wind and the water drops are falling out of it, but it's probably not what we want for leaves except in the fall. So here we have hair, and in hair I'm going to say we want advanced. We always want the advanced particle settings. Number, I'll cut that down just for the moment to a couple of hundred. And then we want to go to render, and instead of rendering it as a path, because these are all paths, we want to render it as an object. Which object do we want it to be? Instance object down here, it's going to be our leaf. Right, and now when we look here, we can see it's got a lot of little leaves sticking out halfway through the trunk. So we need to make some changes here. First change is we need to alter the point at which the leaves enter the trunk. And we can do that very simply by going to the leaf, looking at it in edit mode, and noting where its origin point is, the orange dot here. This is where it will be placed on the surface of the tree. So just select everything and hit G. Remember, when you move things around in edit mode, the mesh moves, but the origin point stays in the same place. So I'm going to put it there, just inside the stalk. Let's look at this from the side. And where is it? G, Z. Yep, let's move it up now. So it's basically in the middle of the stalk in the vertical and horizontal dimensions. And now we'll hit tab again, and I'll probably just hide the leaf. Okay, so we can see we've now got a bunch of very tiny leaves pointing inside the tree. This is not going to work. Let's bring our leaf back again and select it. RZ180. Enter. Rotate it around its local z-axis. GY. You can see the leaves are now coming out of the tree. So let's look at it again in top view. A, G, and in side view along the x-axis. And that looks about right. Okay, fine. So that's a little better. Let's hide this leaf again. We'll look at the tree. So the tree now has leaves coming out from the correct point and in the correct direction, but they're all over the place. Let's select our tree, and we'll go to particle settings, the number. I'll take them up to about 500 or so. They're evenly spaced. Remember how we define the positioning, the frequency of particle objects over the surface of something? We do it with a weight paint. So let's go into weight paint mode. There we go. And I'm going to hide the particle system. We do this by clicking on the little monitor icon here, right at the top. And here's our particle settings. So I'm going to add weights to the tree, the end of the branches. And we'll just continue weight painting it. I'm not going to worry too much about botanical accuracy here. Okay, let's give that a go and see what it looks like. So now we've got our weight paint. I'm going to go back into object mode and back to particle settings. We're going to show our particle system, and they haven't changed because we haven't defined our weight paint as being for the leaves. Let's first of all go to the object data and go down here, vertex groups group. So this is what we just made. Remember that weight painting automatically creates a vertex group. So I'll just call this foliage. And then when we go to our particle system and we go all the way down to vertex groups for density, we can click on the blank space and choose foliage. Right, how does that look? Well, it's slightly more convincing. We don't have leaves coming out of the roots for a start. It's not absolutely wonderful. So let's just go back into weight paint again. And as we repaint, you can see that the particle system dynamically reconfigures itself to reflect the new weight painting. That looks a little better. It's got something of a cherry tree look to it. And again, I'll go here. And yeah, that looks definitely better. Alright, so there's our tree. But supposing we want something more than just leaves emerging magically from the trunk, which I don't think many trees actually do have. So I'm going to go back into editing the leaf. Object mode, we'll hide the tree, and we'll show our leaf. We'll go to top view and go in here, edit mode, so tab, and now Shift D, R, Control L, R, G, Control L, G, S, G, Shift D, R, G, Shift D, R, S, G, and we'll try to make this into a halfway convincing representation of a spray of leaves rather than just an individual leaf. So R, X, X, G, Z, G, Y, Control L, R, X, G, and finally I'll hit 3, just select the end here, E, extrude, scale, and then go to the top again, select everything, Control L, G, move it again so that the origin point is somewhere within or near the end of the main stalk. Again, let's go to side view, make sure we're good in that particular direction. Yeah, that looks fine. Right, back out to object mode again. And we'll bring in the tree. Looks a little happier. So you can iterate this several times. One other thing we can do is if we select the tree and we're in particle settings, we can add some randomize. It's under render again, the same place that we actually chose the leaf for the instance object, and we can scale that, and we can randomize the scale. I'm not sure that we really want to do that because we're getting smaller leaves nearer the trunk. So let's look at changing the scale of the leaves along the branches. What this means is going into a new weight paint. So for a start, before we do anything else, we go into object data. Here's our foliage vertex group. If we go into weight paint now, we'll just be editing the foliage group, which is not what we want to do. We want to make a new one, and I'm going to call it scale leaves. That's the active one. So now, when we go into weight paint mode, you can see the tree's all blue again, because we haven't painted anything in the scale leaves. I'm going to go to particle systems, again just hide the leaves, and we're going to, where are the leaves going to be biggest or smallest? Remember that we can invert weight paints, so I'm going to say let's have it towards the end of the branches. That's a little extreme. So let's go in here and we'll change the weight to about 0.5. So it's not quite so extreme. So you see now it's kind of a green. And at the ends I'll just paint the ends. And I'm obviously going to do this really fast. If you're making a complex scene, or this is for a portfolio or a client, then you're going to be wanting to do this a good deal more carefully. But certainly for an exercise like this, fast is good. And you can always do it again. You can always edit. So, right, I'm going to say this weight here, the green, is going to be reducing the size of the branches. And now when I go over it again, is this cumulative? It's not looking like it's cumulative. So options, accumulate. So now if I continue to add brush strokes, I'm actually adding a certain amount of weight. I'm not seeing this, to be honest though. It ought to be adding weight. It ought to be getting more yellow, and I'm not seeing it. So possibly this is still to be enabled in 2.8. Anyway, that's okay. I'll just increase the weight. Same thing. There we go. So now at the ends, we've got more of a mid-green, which is going to make the leaves a bit smaller. And we'll do that. And do that. Right, let's see how that gets. So let's go back again into particle settings. We can see this. And I'm going to go into object mode for the tree, just so it looks reasonably realistic. And we'll go down and down. Length is the same as scale, basically. So that's going to be scale leaves. And you can see now they're getting bigger towards the end of the branch. It's not smaller. And the technique for inverting a weight paint group is very simple. So we've now got the leaves getting larger towards the end of the branches. In weight paint mode, we simply go to weights and invert. And now we've got the leaves becoming smaller towards the end.